guys, welcome back to the Extraordinary God, Ordinary People podcast. As you can see, it's just myself, Ashlyn Everard, your host. Today is going to be a very special, hard but special episode because I'm actually going to be able to tell my testimony for the first time ever. I have told bits and pieces, and some people who've been on this journey with me, of course, in real life, know what I've been through, know what God has blessed me with, but also knows how God has actually moved in my life in every single high and low and dark and light season. But again, thank you so much for just giving love this last month and a half to our podcast. This is something super new to me, super out of my comfort zone. So thank you so much to the guests that have been on. And also just thank you so much for giving me grace figuring out this whole hosting thing. So I really, 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 from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of that. So I guess without further ado, I will get into it. My maiden name is actually Register. So I got married, as you guys kind of know, about 5 months ago. My husband was just on one of the episodes the last, I think, 2 weeks ago. Kind of heard about his story, but I was born and raised in a little small town in Florida, right outside of Orlando area called Oviedo. My family back about 100 years ago now, came over from Czechoslovakia, and they settled in Oviedo and created this farm and this agricultural business. And so my grandma lives there, my aunts and uncles live there, my dad works for the company. Pretty much, if you know who our family is, then you know that we kind of started that area too in Slovakia, Oviedo area. So, kind of crazy growing up. I wouldn't say we're famous in any way, but we were small town famous in a way. But I went to a Lutheran church that I kind of talked about when on the Willa podcast. Born into a Christian household, my parents gave me the best childhood that I ever could have. I'm going to start crying. My parents are the most amazing people in the entire world. I had a loving childhood. I have a great younger brother. It was probably a crazy childhood to a lot of people because I would play soccer probably about 6 to 7 times a week, which is pretty much every single day of the week. And if we weren't doing soccer, or we weren't doing basketball, I was dancing when I was younger, or as we got older, it was just soccer. And I'm going to kind of start with that. Soccer was basically my life. I went to school, went and played soccer. Went to school, my brother had soccer practice. I went to the field and did homework at the soccer field. That was honestly like my safe space. And I loved the sport. Absolutely loved the sport. I'm sorry, this is really hard for me. I didn't realize. Yeah, so soccer was pretty much, I would say, the Register household's life for a really, really, really long time. I had a personal trainer. I did my own private lessons. I did my regular practices. I would practice with other teams that I knew people on just to get extra practice. And that was what I wanted to be. Ever since I was in 2nd grade, I wanted to be a soccer player, and all the coaches that I had growing up were like, let us know when you're in the Olympics. And I had a special talent that back then I didn't really realize. I just thought I was just a soccer player and I was just having fun with it. I was center defender, and then when I got a little bit older, they put me on the left wing, which is probably one of the toughest places to play because if you're right-footed, that's the way that you're going to kind of go to try and score a goal or cross the ball. And so, not to toot my own horn, but I was a very, very, very good person that could understand the field, understand the game very well, had just the skills, but also had the mindset to be able to understand where the ball was going to go next and yeah, a lot of people saw the talent in me. And my high school was no joke when it came to women's soccer. All 4 years that I was there, which I'll kind of get into a little bit, why I didn't play on the team, but they were state champions 2 out of the 4 years. They made the state championship all 4 years. Like, Oviedo was no joke when it came to women's soccer. And so the fact that people were seeing that and understanding that, I think, was huge for me. Again, I'm 12, 13 years old, had no idea what was going on, but yeah, I think that was just a truly, like, pivotal time in my life because I built so many friendships and I built my life around soccer. I was really good at school. I got A's, B's, unless it came to math. Math was always my hardest, but soccer was where I knew I could go and be the best that I could be, and in a way, just be myself. And I was a little aggressive, and I played on an all-boys team when I was 13, and we all know 13-year-olds and girls and everything, but I was the only girl. But I was actually the only person on that team that got a yellow card. Because I just wouldn't take anything from anyone, and I feel like that still resonates with me to this day. But with that being said, when I turned 14, I was at a practice with the all-boys team. I had joined a girls' soccer team. At that point, they were 2 years older than me, so all the girls were learning how to drive, and I was this 8th grader, 14-year-old, playing on this U16 team, and of course was dominating. But I was wanting to get an extra practice in before a big tournament that we had, and so I went and practiced with the all-boys team because their coach was actually a really good family friend of ours at the time, and I had grown up with them since I was 1 year old, and my brother and their brother play on the same soccer team, and so I was already at the soccer field, so why not play an extra practice just to get a little bit in. And I went to go get the ball, and I turned, and when I turned, I completely fell to the ground. And when I fell to the ground, I didn't hear the pop, but a lot of other people apparently had heard the pop and understood that that was probably going to be a long road to recovery. But I walked off the field and I iced it, and I knew that if I had just rest, like, I would be okay and I would be able to play in the game the next day. No, I woke up, it was completely swollen. My mom took me and got an MRI, and they had told me I had torn my right ACL. And it's super, super common for women, especially in soccer, to tear their ACLs. But at 14, it was kind of like my life was not over. I understood that it was going to be a setback, but I was ready to fight and to put in the work, and knew that no matter what, like, I was a fighter, and that soccer was my love and my passion, and this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So if I'm 14, I have just the power and the will, I guess, at that age of 14 to be able to keep going to physical therapy and training and everything else, and still be at the soccer field, even though it was a really hard time in my life because I wasn't able to play. And a little bit who don't know, my mom called this my brace phase because 2 years earlier I had dislocated my elbow. I had sprained both ankles at this point. I have a cut right above my eye from where a girl's forehead went into my forehead playing soccer. So, again, I was an accident-prone child, but this was probably the biggest injury that I've had to this date. So, did all the physical therapy. I was, I think it took about a year. A year of getting back into building up the muscle, building up the training again in my body. And there was this travel team, and it was my freshman year of high school, and all of these girls had played together, and I really, 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 really wanted to play on this travel team. They were going to be the girls that I was going to play at in high school, and like I said, they were all state champions, or about to be state champions, and this was the way that I could get seen by colleges and basically work my way up and get into the school program. And so this was my big shot in a way. Um, and I remember going to the field and I was so gung-ho and I hated my knee brace so much because they made this like special knee brace to be able to hold my knee together. I'm gonna be honest with you, girls are very, very vicious back then. And if they see a knee brace or they see a weakness, they would try and take that out of you. And so with that being said, I didn't want people to see me as weak, even though I was coming off of a really, really big injury. And so I took it off about halfway through. My dad stayed the entire time. And the one thing I do remember is that before I left, my mom said, just please be careful. And I was like, don't worry, like, I'm all good. Like, I'm all better. I've been cleared. I don't know. Like, we don't need to worry about anything else at this point. And the last drill of that practice, I kicked the ball and I went just to turn. I just turned to go back into line. And it wasn't like a crazy trick. It wasn't like I was battling for the ball. I wasn't doing any of that. I literally just turned and I felt my other knee completely shift. And I probably let out one of the most blood-curdling screams I probably have ever let out. And I just fell to the ground and I had thought I had dislocated my other knee at that point. But I didn't. I had actually tore my first practice back, my other ACL in my knee. And as a 15-year-old and seeing all of your dreams, now that I look back at it, all of my dreams that I had ever known since I was 8 years old kind of go up into smoke because of my knees. It was really, really, really difficult for me at that moment. I remember being in the car and feeling like I had let my mom down. I had let my dad down because my mom said, just be careful. And I still remember to this day the face that my mom saw when I walked in and that she went and she said she got super sick because she knew that it had happened again and how much pain I was in. And it wasn't just like I had one good knee that I could help on and lean on. I was still rehabbing that other knee, and so I was completely down both knees. I'd injured myself in a way, embarrassed myself in front of all these girls that I was about to go to high school with, because I'll backtrack a little bit. I didn't know any of these girls. I went to a private school. I went to St. Luke's Lutheran Church and School since I was in preschool. So I have the same kids and all 60 kids in my classes all growing up. We all went through kindergarten, first, middle school. And so I was going into a public school. Like, I was about to go to Oviedo High School. It was my first time ever in a public school. And I was going to meet all these girls and make friends and everything. And so I had already embarrassed myself in that way too, in my 15-year-old brain. And I didn't give up, but I gave up the dream at that moment. I truly just couldn't see the game again for what it was. I think it was a very, very difficult and hard time in my life. Because I just remember not really knowing what to do now with all this free time and really understanding truly like what my purpose was. Because at 15, like, sports and school and friends, and that's all your life at that moment, or at least it was for me, and that was all taken away from me because I had known people who had torn it 3 times, 4 times, and I wanted to be able to walk at 30. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, to this day, at 25, I still have problems with my knee. Like, today at a workout, my left knee let out. And so I can't imagine if I went back on that field and injured myself again, like, physically where my body would be, but also mentally where my body would be. And so I just had to hang up the towel at that point and just kind of accept that I was never going to be able to play at a college level. And it was hard. But I fell in love with TV production in high school. And so I was this nervous, shy kid. Growing up in preschool, the teacher thought that I was actually like a little weird because I actually didn't talk for the entire first week in preschool. I guess I would just explode in the car when I got home because I was just so shy and I was so afraid of talking to people. I still am to this day. I'm actually a very shy person. I do feel like I bother a lot of people when I reach out first and everything, and that's something that I am working on. But yeah, I think for a really, really, really long time, I just kind of kept to myself, and I had a core group of friends, and TV production kind of put me out, I would say, out of my comfort zone, but out into the high school world. Like, I was the girl who read the news and like the announcements on the school, like every third period, basically. So every kid in that school, if they paid attention to the announcements, but like, let's be real, we're high schoolers, so are we really paying attention to the announcements, would see my face on the like school announcements. And so it was just kind of like, oh, like this isn't just shy Ashlyn anymore. Like, I'm on camera and I'm speaking in front of people and I'm giving reports and I'm reading announcements. And it honestly started out as like a fun little hobby, but it turned into my new passion and what I truly, really, really, really wanted to pursue going into college. And so any chance that I could, I was in the TV production room. Mr. Patterson, KP was my teacher, and he probably has one of the biggest impacts on my life. He truly gave me a platform in high school to be able to tell these crazy, hard-hitting stories that actually made me the top 3 broadcaster in the state of Florida in my senior year of high school. That's actually one of my biggest accomplishments, I feel like. But he just showed me, like, truly what it meant to love journalism and to tell a good story and videography. And I got to start a sports program there and really take that off. And I did sideline reporting live, which was crazy. That's never been heard of. And so he let me turn my dreams into realities because I wanted to be the next Jamie Little, the next Erin Andrews. I wanted to be on TV. Like, that was my goal, is I was going to be this next sports reporter that everyone knew. And so why not get reps at 16 years old on the sideline of a high school football game? Because I need to learn how to be able to do these things. And yeah, I just really truly had a passion for telling people stories and sports. And it kind of course stemmed from soccer, but it was more of I get to now go behind the scenes and be able to tell, oh my gosh, like this person got injured, or this person had this record in our basketball or soccer or football. And that was just truly something that I really, 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 really enjoyed telling, because people, as you can tell from this podcast, everyone has a story. And I truly, to this day, want to make everyone feel like they are seen and heard. Because that is something that I feel like I've struggled with, being seen and being heard. And so that's just something that I have a really deep passion for, is that no one else has to experience what I've experienced. And I know that I'm not God, and I know that I can't change their circumstances. But if I can be a loving hand, I feel like that's something God has taught me through all of this, is that I can be a loving hand and a loving person to lean on in times, because I have been through a lot of stuff. There are certain things in life that I have not been through that I cannot speak on. This is why I wanted to start this podcast. But there's a lot of things that I have been through in this life that I've actually realized later on in life that I was able to help that person, and God put me in their life for that reason, because I had been through that. Because I had overcome that with Jesus by my side, that I was able to help them see their worth and understand that God is through this hard thing as well. But TV production brought me a lot in high school, and I started dating this guy in high school. He wanted to be on Sports Center too, just like me, and was on the baseball team, and I had a thing for baseball players back then. And I really just, like, you're 17, you think that you know everything, and the world is at your fingertips, and you understand everything that's going to happen in your life, and you just, I had a good relationship with the Lord growing up. Because I, of course, went to private school and everything, and but I wouldn't say I knew what a relationship actually was with the Lord. I knew the Bible verses. I knew who God was. I knew who Jesus was. I was baptized. I was confirmed. I was saved. I went to church every Sunday. But by the way that you could tell by 17-year-old me that I just kind of explained, I didn't really understand giving God it all and understanding that he is completely in control. Even though I had just went through this traumatic 2-year experience with both knees being torn, and I was actually kind of angry at God, to be honest, because I was taken away something that I loved and I didn't understand why. I still went to church. I still did everything, but I really thought in a way that I knew better. And so I started dating a guy who, like I was saying, in high school, who was on the baseball team, and he didn't know the Lord. But I thought I could fix him. And I think I look back on that now, and I think it was just a lot of, I needed to be helped and needed to be fixed on the inside, and my knees needed to be fixed, that I thought I could fix someone else, and I would just put all that time and that effort to not really focus on myself and my heart. And so he would come to church with us, and thought I was fixing him, or that he was gonna just fall in love with Jesus because I love Jesus, and that we were dating and everything. And I really look back on that time in my life and realized that it was a very toxic relationship. It wasn't abusive, but it was very toxic, and screaming and yelling and no trust and not understanding each other. And I thought I had to scream to get my point across, and I thought that going to bed crying every single night was an actual, like, normal thing with a guy. And I just thought that was what you do. My parents were never like that, so I don't know why I thought that was normal. But I guess in that moment, I just thought that was it. And, yeah, it was a weird time, but going into my senior year of high school, we were dating, we were doing everything, and we were having fun, and I had seen this ad for Arizona State University's sports broadcast boot camp. And for all of you that know, Arizona State, the Walter Cronkite School, is actually one of the top sports journalism schools in the country. And I was like, well, if I really truly want to do this, I should apply. Like, it's 2 weeks away from home in Arizona. 30 kids get picked. Like, what are the odds that I get picked? And I actually got picked. I was one of the 30 kids across the country that went and lived at Arizona State's downtown campus for 2 weeks, and we got to tell stories about the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals and the Phoenix Rising, and live in the dorms and kind of have a college experience tailored to sports and journalism, and honing our skills and learning editing and broadcasting and videography and play-by-play and highlight reels. And it was truly amazing, and it's where I kind of fell in love with it more. I made some of the best friends there. I know we didn't touch on this, but my husband was actually at that camp. I did not see him that way. According to him, that was the time that he knew that he really liked me, was when he saw me at camp. Yeah, so it was just a really cool time to be able to be there and kind of ignite this passion that I've had for about 4 years at that point into something that I can actually do this in college and maybe make a career out of this. And so I went to Arizona State, as you guys know, Forks Up, from 2018 to 2022. And it was probably some of the best years of my entire life. Best years of my entire life. Like, I know everyone says, like, college is a favorite. Like, college probably was the best time of my life. it's truly where I felt like I've had a relationship with the Lord. I started an actual life group. I don't, again, know how this all happened. Truly, God had his hand in all of it. But I got kind of thrown into starting this life group, this downtown Phoenix life group through the Church of Antioch Community Church. My freshman year, it's never been done before, but they had them on the Tempe campus. And it's been this law student and this nursing student's dream for a while to have one on that campus. And so some of the people that I knew from that camp, the broadcast camp, they knew them because of an older brother. And so they were like, do you want to start this Bible study? And I was like, let's do it. I have absolutely no idea what I'm getting myself into, but I really want to build a strong foundation here at church or in Jesus at college of what I thought it was. But that's honestly, Antioch is where I found a true passion for the Lord. There are things that happen later on, but Antioch really truly ignited that passion for Jesus in me. I learned how to spend time with him. I actually learned the importance of reading the Bible and praying, and I knew all of these things, but I really truly saw it play out in my life in a way that I had never seen before. It was truly a magical, I want to say magical, let me rephrase that. It was truly an eye-opening experience to be able to understand why I kind of had gone through all of those different things to get to this point. Because without tearing my ACLs, I wouldn't have done sports journalism in high school, then I wouldn't have done this camp, then I wouldn't have put me at Arizona State, because what girl from Florida goes all the way out to the desert, 2,000 plus miles away from their home and their family just to go to school? Me. This girl. But I was still dating that guy. We did distance my freshman year because he was a year younger than me too. And I remember being so sad and so caught up in my room and crying myself to sleep every single night. And I just, again, thought that was normal. And I didn't really get the full college experience, I would say, my freshman year of college. But it's really, truly where I felt like the Lord was working the most, and I could start hearing him, and he would speak to me, and I would understand him, and it was just a truly eye-opening time of my life. And that guy, he did eventually dump me over FaceTime, because God told him to. And this is not me shading him. This is just a truly integral part of my story that I just have to say. And in that point, I did not want to date men for a really, really long time. I wanted to be single, and I met these really great girls at the time, Elise and Victoria. Elise was actually just on this past episode with her husband. She was my maid of honor, as you guys know. And so I was really, truly focused on Jesus, community, and friends, because at that time in my life, I didn't understand how much trust I had lost in God because of being told I got dumped because God told him to. That I was truly not ever healed in that way, but I kept going on in my life, and I learned multiple other things in the church and continued to lead that life group all 4 years of college. And I look back on that now, and I have lifelong friends forever that clearly, and just, I'm trying to think of the word, they will call me still to this day and hold me accountable for things that the Lord has spoken over me back then, and were at my wedding and discipled me. And those people truly are some of my best friends in this entire world, and I truly understand why God tells us to go into community with other believers, because without them, I don't think I would have made it out. I don't. And I truly, to this day, love them, each and every one of them. So I don't know if they're listening or made it this far in the podcast, but thank you guys for everything that you've done and pointing me always back to Jesus. And thank you, Jesus, for giving me these friends, because God, you truly had a hand in their friendship back my sophomore year when I almost didn't go back to ASU because I got dumped by this guy. And I was crying in my bedroom, just asking for good, godly girlfriends. And this is just a testimony to God does hear your prayers. I was crying, almost didn't go back to ASU. Was going to transfer schools for this boy who just dumped me because he told me that God told him to. And I just had no friends or anything, and God gave me the best girlfriends that I ever could have. And so God will bless you with community. Please hear me on that. And I needed that reminder right now because I'm going through something like that right now in Nashville. But God hears your prayers, hears you, understands you, loves you more than you will ever understand, and has the perfect timing and the perfect people to put in your life. He does. I truly believe that. But fast forward to my senior year of college, there was this boy that I really liked. Turns out to be my husband now, but he didn't know the Lord either, and I wasn't about to go do this whole 180 thing, 360 thing, whatever you want to call it again, with dating a guy who didn't know the Lord and just hurting myself all over again. Like, I had already been through that, sworn that off, was taught the importance of being equally yoked. And ladies, please hear me on this. Please be equally yoked, especially with your husband or someone that you're with in a relationship, because it makes life so much more joyful and fruitful, and it's what God calls us to do. And so I actually turned down my husband multiple times, because I knew that I wasn't going to do this again, that this wasn't something that I was going to do again and put myself in that situation again and not understand why, I couldn't find a godly man. But I also really wasn't looking because I had sworn off men for 3 years. And my husband kind of alluded to his story on his episode, and I really won't get into it a lot other than my side of the story, but he started coming to church and life group, and I remember writing a pros and cons list, and it was everything that I had prayed for. It truly was everything that I had prayed for in a man. And I was still like, I don't know. Like, I'm supposed to be equally yoked with someone. He's just starting in his faith. He just accepted Jesus into his heart. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready, Lord. And he goes, do you know? And I remember the Lord speaking to me in my dorm room. He was like, are you not ready? Or do you think that I'm not ready for this? And I remember in that moment being like, I guess we're doing this. I guess we're going to start dating this man. And because of what I was told in my past relationship that the Lord had basically told him to dump me, I was such a fearful person in relationships. At that point, I thought God was going to take him away at every single point, any place that he could, any wrongdoing, anything bad, anything said wrong, anything that was not perfect, because I am a perfectionist. I am the oldest daughter, oldest grandchild, and firstborn. I really truly thought that this wasn't my person. Like, how could I have been through all of this and prayed for everything and pros and cons, and I truly did not have peace in my heart about any of it. I didn't, and we were about to go into distance, and because I was moving to Charlotte at the time because I had got my dream job with NASCAR, and this is truly the part of my testimony that not a lot of people know of, but has been the most impactful part of my story. I had just gotten into this relationship and moved to Charlotte, and I was clinically diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I had known that I had anxiety for a while. I would throw up before tests in school, and I had a fear of being abandoned by my family, and I would sleep at the foot of their bed every single night. So I knew it was there, but I didn't really understand what it was because no one had ever told me what anxiety kind of was. I just thought it was like, oh, you get fearful and you get, little butterflies in your tummy. But that's when truly, like, I could not function. I could not function well. And I just started dating Ike, and I didn't understand. I couldn't function. I honestly could not get out of bed. Like, I truly, to this day, hated my life, and I wanted to kill myself. And I know that's really dark to say on this podcast, but it has to be said because it's part of my testimony and my story. But yeah, I did. Multiple times. I never attempted, but I did. Want to. Because I didn't understand what the point was anymore. I didn't understand why I had to go through any of this, and understood why I was such in a dark place, because I was always this happy-go-lucky girl, and everyone told me that you're beautiful and you're joyful and you're happy, and I wasn't feeling any of that. But guess what? The Lord still showed up every single way for Ike and I. I remember sitting on my couch in Charlotte and just asking God, like, why does he love me so much? Why does Ike love me so much? And he goes, because he loves me like I love you. And I remember laying in bed crying because I just couldn't get out of bed and did not want to get out of bed, and not understanding why I was feeling any of this. And I just felt like the Lord just said that I gave you for the ups and downs and for the days of doubt, according to Ike. And I was just doubting everything in my life at that point. I would be such a mess one minute, and then the next minute be fine, and then the next minute turn around and be on the ground crying because I had no idea what I was going through and no idea why I had to go through it, or how to help, or how to fix it, or I tried everything under the sun. I didn't do drugs or alcohol or anything, but I tried just therapy and everything, and I had run for such a long time away from it that I had never actually sat in it and understood what it meant and where it was coming from and stemming from. And it really crushed me in the moment that I realized that I did not have any trust in my Lord. I didn't. The Lord was speaking all those things to me that I had said, and I didn't believe one thing of them because I didn't think that that was true. Because how can someone like me, so broken and beat down and hurt, understand that this was a beautiful gift from the Lord and the Lord was still loving me through it? I didn't understand it. But the Lord never left. Clearly, Ike never left. Ike is truly an answered prayer to everything that I've ever prayed for in a man. So again, ladies, never, never, never compromise for anything. Even if one of your prayers is that he's a good cook. I love you, Mom, but you did not teach me well with cooking. And so Ike actually cooks every single dinner, and I never had to ask for that. So Lord does hear you, even for your quirky ones. And I wanted a country boy with blonde hair and blue eyes. I got a Seattle boy who thinks that he's country and moved myself to Nashville because of him. So I kind of got it, kind of not. So I'm telling you, God hears you and God loves you and wants the best for you. So please don't ever settle for anything that's less than what God has for you. Because I thought I was for such a long time, but I'm not. And that was just anxiety and fear. But yeah, it would take me out of church. It would take me out of working. It would take me out of relationships. Like, it would truly paralyze me. And I had never understood why I was going through any of it. I would try and ask God. It took me away from God too. And I just felt so alone. Even though I had all of these people around me and Ike and God was still there, I didn't understand what it was. But it wasn't until I realized that, like, God is the peace in my situation, and that I'm not looking for just peace, and that if I have anxiety or an issue in a relationship, that it wasn't God telling me to run. It was my body working through being so fearful that the Lord was going to take him away at any point because of what happened in my past relationship, that I was literally living in fear and causing my body to go into this reactive mode because I was so terrified of God. I could sit here and praise God, but deep down in my heart, I was so terrified. I had so much fear and anxiety and depression that I didn't know where I was ever going to be able to go from it. I remember on our engagement day, and kid you not, I knew I was going to be engaged at the park that we got engaged at, because a couple years before that, the Lord said that I was going to be engaged at that park and that I knew my future husband was going to propose to me at that park. Ike and I had a special place at that park before we were even dating. I had the perfect dress, blue nails. He set it up perfectly in our spot, setting it on a big circle to our friends. So, like, kid you not, the Lord was in every detail of our engagement. It was beautiful. To this day, I still cannot believe that I was doubting the Lord in that moment. But hey, anxiety and fear does that to you. And I remember I would have panic attacks at our own party because I was like, what did I just do? What did I just get myself into? But it wasn't until about a couple months ago that I really have been freed from it. And that is because I've understood the power that fear truly does have over your life, but that fear is not from the Lord. You can let it rule your life like I did for years and years and years. From basically I was 6 years old up until 25. For years, you can let it rule your life and not be able to live to your full potential and joy, or you can take back your control and give it to God and understand that things are going to happen. Fear is going to happen. Anxiety is going to happen, but it's not from the Lord and you don't have to live in it. You can relinquish that at the cross to the Lord and that He will actually take it away from you. And I remember just praying to God that if Ike wasn't for me, that He would take him away. And I was so afraid that God was going to take him away. But yet here we are, married 3 years into our relationship with more blessings than I could ever have imagined. And yeah. And so I look back on my life now and understand why little me had to go through all those ACL surgeries and lose my soccer love and understand journalism and TV production and everything is to get me to this point right here. I wouldn't be married to the love of my life. I wouldn't have started this podcast. I wouldn't have the skills to be able to start this podcast thanks to journalism school and Ike and I hosting our NASCAR radio show back in college. I wouldn't have any of this. And so at the end of the day, I just want to come on here and just say the Lord is working in your life no matter if you believe it or not or see it or not. And I know easier said than done. Trust me, I do. Trust me, I do. I still have fear and anxiety to this day, and sometimes it does consume me. I have easier coping mechanisms and ways of getting out of it and understanding that the Lord, that is not the Lord. But please just know, like, you're not alone in any of this. And that was why I really, truly wanted to start this podcast. One, because I felt like it was from the Lord and was put on my heart to do this, to be able to tell other people's stories and get their testimonies out to help others. But two, to start this as a platform for a non-for-profit that I do want to start for mental health and homelessness. Honestly, the battle starts in our brain. And I know a lot of people may agree with me on that or may not. But there is an epidemic in our brains and in this society now that the devil knows where to attack, and that is our brains and understanding. And mental health is such a place, a special thing that I have dealt with and understand and want to be able to give back to people. And so that is why on the logo it's purple, is for mental health awareness. You never know what someone's going through. At the end of the day, God says love our neighbor as ourselves and love each other as God has loved us. And that is something that I truly live by, because you never know. You never would have known, for the people who had known me maybe 3 years ago, that I did want to end it all. You didn't. But if you showed kindness, and there were a lot of people who showed me kindness, just know, like, you don't know what other people are going through or what God's has going on in their life or what they're experiencing or battling with depression and anxiety. But we can lend a helping hand. We can pray. We can help these people. And so at some point I want to start a non-for-profit with this platform, hopefully. for mental health and homelessness, and just give back to those communities and give back to people like myself who know the Lord and understand the Lord, but are ridiculed in fear and anxiety, and to be able to understand that they are not stuck in that it's not their story, that's not their ending, that it's just the beginning. And so thank you guys so much for just giving love this past month and a half. Sorry I ugly cried on camera. But thank you guys so much for listening, hearing my story, and I really pray that the Lord will use it in a way that just transforms his word and Jesus into this earth, because we just need more Jesus. That's it. We need more Jesus in this world. And if that means through a podcast, then I guess it means through a podcast. This is just my yes to the Lord at the end of the day. I did not want to tell my story yesterday, and then I had a whole thing, and I just felt ready finally, and I feel like there's someone out here that just needed to hear it. So you're not alone. You are loved. You are seen. You are heard. And I'm just so, so, so grateful for each and every one of you for just helping me along this journey, so early in this journey. But I just pray that this is a continuation of the power of a testimony, and I can't wait to share all the other, I guess, fun guests that I'm going to have on, and hopefully non-for-profit in the future. And I really do want to start some fun things coming up with this podcast, now that I've kind of gotten the ball rolling and got my story out there. So thank you guys again for watching. If you guys want your story on this podcast, please DM me. Please email. The Instagram bio has the email. I would love to do a Zoom with you and just get your story on. Or if you guys live in the local area here in Tennessee, please let me know. I would love to have you guys on. Your story will impact someone. Your story that the Lord has placed on your heart and has made you go through has an impact and has a powerful testimony waiting for someone else to hear, to understand that what they're going through, they are not alone. So please hear me on that. Your story does matter. But again, please subscribe. Please keep continuing to share the love, and just love one another. Just love. God is love. And so just understand that no matter what someone else is going through, that they just need either a hug, a lending hand, or just someone to listen to them. So thank you guys again. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.